graphing y equals a sine of bx or y equals a cosine of bx. So these are going to be situations where we don't have a d or a c value, which means no phase shifts, no vertical shifts. These are all about period changes. Period changes. So periods that are no longer 2 pi. All of our previous examples, the periods were 2 pi, not this one. I'm going to start like I have with all of these, rewriting this as y equals negative 3/2 cosine of 2x minus 0 plus 0. Starting with the midline, since d is 0, right there, d is 0, that means that the midline is at y equals 0. Boom, done. Then I want to make sure my color is consistent because I was a little bit inconsistent on the colors in the previous sections. A, the amplitude. So A is negative 3/2. The amplitude is always a positive number. The amplitude is 3/2. A is negative, but the amplitude is positive. 3/2. So that's 1.5. So I'm going to go up 1.5 units. That takes me to 1.5. And down 1.5 units to negative 1.5. And we could really write our range right now, negative 1.5 to positive 1.5. Domain, negative infinity to infinity. We can do that right away. When you're doing these on the computer, it helps a lot to draw these on paper first. I really highly suggest drawing on paper and then putting it all on the computer. It's just a lot easier to do on paper and the translation's a lot better. Okay. C, there is no C value. C is 0. So that means there's no phase shift, or another way of saying that is the phase shift is 0. No phase shift. Means we start at x equals 0. And finally, B. B is 2. B is what changes the period. So period is equal to 2 pi divided by B. In our case, B is 2. Those 2's will cancel. The period is pi. So we now have a different situation than we had in our previous sections where we had phase shift 0, period 2 pi. We had the same key points. Here, our period has changed. So our period is pi, which means we need to find new quarter periods. The quarter period is the period divided by 4. So our period is pi, and we're dividing it by 4. That's pi over 4. Maybe I'll make this whole thing red. Pi over 4. Key points. We always start with our phase shift as our first one. Our first key point is 0. So that means, boom, that's our first one. And then we just add pi over 4. So we go plus pi over 4. And we do that. We're going to do that until we have 5 values. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I need one more of these. We'll find out. So 0 plus pi over 4, that's pi over 4. Add another 2 pi over 4, you have 2 pi over 4. Let's see, I need to line those up better. That's what I get for trying to get ahead of myself here. Right. We have pi over 4, and then you add another pi over 4, and you get 2 pi over 4. You add a pi over 4, you get 3 pi over 4. Add a pi over 4, you get 4 pi over 4. I shouldn't have gotten ahead of myself with that labeling. Depending on what it looks like. So if you're doing this on a computer, you probably have the x-axis laid out for you already, but I don't, so I can choose where any of these go. maybe I'll make it tighter together here for fun. So here's pi over 4. This is 2 pi over 4, 3 pi over 4, and 4 pi over 4, which is the period. The period is pi. So we're going from 0 to pi. All right. And then it's just ask ourselves the questions about cosine and sine. So we are looking at cosine here. So that means start at top or bottom. In this case, A is negative. If A is negative, that means we start at the bottom. So I'm starting at the bottom, step up to the top. Once I hit the top, back down, again, at my important values. There is 1 point everywhere. All right, I can go, and I could keep doing this pattern forever. And it's real easy to do that. Hard to draw, easy to do. The lines, again, these are guiding lines. They're not meant to stay. They just help you draw your graph beautifully. So there's that. There you go. We got that period change where we changed from 2 pi to pi. So now it oscillates faster. And now let's do this guy here. This is y equals 4 sine of 1/2 x minus 0 plus 0. We'll start with our d value. So d is 0. That means the midline is at y equals 0. Ooh, that was interesting. There's that. Our a value, I keep on doing that. Our a value is 4. The number up front is 4, which means our amplitude is 4. There is no phase shift because c is 0. Oh, and let's use the amplitude real quick to draw some lines. Amplitude is 4. That means I'm going to go up 4 units and down 4 units from my midline. This is -4. This is 0. This is 4. You can write our range. Our range is going to be -4 to 4. And our domain, of course, is -infinity to infinity. All right. B is equal to, in this case, 1/2. B is 1/2. B changes the period. So the period is 2 pi divided by B. That's 2 pi divided by 1/2. The math that I'm going to do here, right, I'm going to multiply this fraction on the top and the bottom by 2, and that will cancel. So I have 2 pi times 2, that's 4 pi over 1. So just 4 pi, that's our period. Our period is 4 pi. That means because I have a period change, I need to find new key points. Just move this here. Key points. The first key point is always the phase shift. So phase shift will be the first one. Now we need to know the quarter period. The quarter period is the period, 4 pi, divided by 4. Period divided by 4. Those 4's cancel. So a quarter period is just pi. That makes sense. The period is 4 pi, so a quarter of that is pi. So I'm just going to add pi each time. So 0 plus pi is pi. Add pi again, 2 pi. Add pi again, 3 pi. Add pi again, 4 pi. And now I have 5 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I don't know how many spaces I have here. Let's see. So I might just call this pi right here. 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi. I have a sine function. Make room here. So that means we start at the midline. And a is positive, a is 4, a equals positive, which means we go up first, up first. So I start at the midline, and I go up to my next important x value, then down, down, up. Oops, that last part didn't look right. Concavity was wrong there. And there it is. Again, these lines aren't really here just because every once in a while someone will mention it. Those lines aren't there. They're just there to help you. And that's that. That's graphing a period change. So you will need to change your key points if your B value is not 1. If B is not 1 or C is not and C is not 0, the only time where you don't have to change the key points is when B is 1 and C is 0. In those cases, you get these nice key points right here that we've used 1.5 million times. But if B is not 1 or C is not 0, then there's going to be a change in these points over here, just because you've shifted everything around a bit. All right, so that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to do phase shifts, and then later on, we're going to combine it all together. So this video 8 is amplitude changes, phase shifts, period changes, and vertical shifts. All right, well, I will see you in another video. Bye.